All right, hello again. This is Jeff Scott of Blackhawk Technical College, and as promised, I've gone through and basically rewritten a program that we assigned for JavaScript during the fall 2015 semester. I've gone back and I've rewritten the program using Java. So as you can see, we've got I'm importing java.util.random and javax swing j option pane. I've got a class called array. In that class, I'm creating an integer array that's going to hold 25 random numbers. I'm also going to, from those 25, I'm going to be able to show the smallest value in the array, the largest value in the array, the sum of all values in the array, and then by taking the sum of all values in the array and dividing it by the length of the array, that'll give me the average. All right. There's not a lot of new stuff in here other than I did do some work with arrays. All right, but probably not as much as I could have, but I just sat there and spent a couple minutes and wrote this up. So you'll notice that inside of main, basically what I have in here is an infinite loop. And I'm saying call menu forever. Well, how can I do that? Well, one of the things that's in menu is 0 to end the program. And if it's 0, we just say system.exit. All right, so that's how you can do that. So, whoop, I guess I still have looking at some emails, so let me remove that. All right, so again, the first thing I do is I call create array, and we'll get over what that is in just a second. It's right here. But the reason I do that is to make sure I always have an array when I start. And then, after we've created the array to begin with, just keep calling menu. All right, so what's create array? Well, this is going to basically create a new instance of the random class right here. And I've literally found this online someplace, but what this in English says is create me 25 random numbers between 1 and 100. Then when you're done, print out the array has been created. All right, and then we call print array. And you'll notice I'm calling print array here, and I'm passing it the word original. And then when I'm printing it out in ascending, I'm calling print array, passing it ascending. For descending, I'm calling print array and passing out descending. So why am I telling you that? Because in that routine, that print array, I say the array in, and then either original order, ascending order, or descending order, and then I just print it out. And the way I do that is I create a string called the array, and I fill up the string. I fill up the first 24 of 25 values. Why 24? 24 and not 25 because I want a comma after each one except not after the last one. So instead of saying numbers.length, I say numbers.length minus 1. Then I just add the last one. So again, the create array generates a new array for us with 25 random numbers. The print array prints out those values. Then I've got a menu that I keep calling. And as you can see right here, enter a 0 to end the program, 1 to generate 25 new numbers, 2 to sort the array in ascending order, 3 to sort the array in descending order, 4 to give me the smallest array element, 5 to give me the largest array element, 6 to give me the sum of all elements, 7 to give me the average of all elements. All right, so that's really all that it accepts. So if I put in a 0, which again was to end the program, system.exit 0. Notice there's no break after that because it doesn't make any sense to put a break there. It could never be reached anyway. If it's a 1, I want to generate the 25 new numbers by calling create array. If it's a 2, I want to sort it in ascending order. A 3, I want to sort it in descending order. A 4, I want to grab the smallest array element. A 5, I want to grab the largest array element. A 6, I want the sum of all elements. A 7, the average of all elements. And if it's something other than a 1 through 7, I'm just going to exit. I could have done something else. I could have printed out a message that said bad value, but I just kept it like that. I kept it pretty simple. This sort ascending, all right, it's a very simple swapping type of sort. And again, I'll give you all the code for this. The descending is the exact same way. The only difference between these is in the ascending, that's a greater than sign, and in the descending, that's a less than sign. Other than that, it's the exact same routine written both in both methods. To get the smallest and get the largest, I basically took these right out of the book. Assume that the first element in the array is the smallest, then go from the second element through all the rest of the elements, and if you find one smaller than smallest, it becomes the new smallest. If you find one larger than largest, it becomes the new largest. Again, the sum was taken out of the book. Go through all the array elements, have sum, which is your accumulator, and have that be equal to, whatever the number was. So 25, that number 25 times. And then print out the sum. The average, well, notice what this says. If sum equals 0, that means I have not yet called get sum of elements. So if it's 0, call get sum of elements. If there's already a value in it, there's no reason to do that. So either way, average is sum divided by numbers.length, and notice I'm doing a casting right here to make sure that it indeed is back as a double. Print array I've already mentioned, so it's 225 lines. There really aren't very many comments in here. You'll notice that I put little delimiters between each of the methods, but other than that, I really didn't put any comments in here. So let's save this and do a run. The array has been created. So here's the original array. So there should be 25 values in there. And you'll notice as you take a look at it, they all have a comma after them except the last one because of the way that I printed this. All right, so now my menu comes up. And I guess where it says, please enter to 0 to 7. Now I need another line break in there, but that's fine. I can fix that in a minute. Number 2, let's sort them in ascending order. And you notice that it is. And you notice 4 is the smallest and 83 is the largest. All right, now let's do a 3 to sort them in descending order. A 4 to get the smallest, which is 4. A 5 to get the largest, which is 83. A 6 to get the sum of all elements, which is 1203. And a 7 to get the average of all elements, which is 48.12. I can generate 25 new numbers by doing a 1 again, and then there you'll notice that I have new numbers. All right. Pretty simple program. 0 ends it. Again, the only other thing I should have done was right here, I should have put another \n right there. Maybe even a couple of them, \n. Save one more time, run. And you notice it looks a little nicer now. All right, maybe I should have even had another blank line after that. After a while, you get to the point where you've got the logic of your program done. It's working pretty much the way you want it to be working. And then it's just a matter of tweaking it. Oh, it didn't give me a... Put a \n after that, but if for some reason it didn't read that. So. All right. Hopefully there's nothing in that program that you find really, really hard to understand. What I'll do is I'll just spend a couple minutes here. Again, there's the package. There's the 2 import statements. This is almost going backwards rather than forwards because in this example, I don't have a constructor and main is right inside of this routine, so every routine in here has to be static. as do all of my variables. I didn't use any constants. So there was main. Main is a driver. Calls create array once, and it calls menu as many times as necessary. You'll notice that all of the different methods in here are fairly succinct. They're fairly small. Here's our create array, which again will generate 25 random numbers between 1 and 100. Here's our menu, which again is just going to print out literally the menu. All right, tells us to enter a 0 through 7. Then we grab that number. We do an integer.parse because I called it this. All right, then if it's a 0, we exit. A 1, we create a new 25 numbers. A 2, we sort the array in ascending order. A 3, we sort it in descending order. A 4, we get the smallest element. A 5, we get the largest element. A 6, we get the sum of the elements. A 7, we get the average of the elements. And anything else, we just stop the program. The ascending, again, there it is. Again, on one screen. So it's written fairly simply, fairly succinctly. All right, and then we print it out. Descending, again, is exactly the same as ascending. The only difference is that's a less than as opposed to a greater than. Smallest is taken right out of the book. Largest is the same as smallest, except instead of saying the word smallest, you say the word largest. Instead of a less than, it's a greater than. Other than that, it's the same thing. Some of the elements, you see right here, very short. Average, again, very short. Print the array, does just that. Like I said, 225 lines. Okay? All right, hopefully that one made sense, because what I want to do right now is I want to jump in and look at the Chapter 7 payroll program. Again, I decided to come across with this slowly, because this is this the first time? Let's see. All right, this is the second program where we're going to have a payroll file and a driver file. All right, so the payroll, this should look real familiar to you right now because it's the same stuff that we've been using and using and using and using and using. I don't think there's anything new here either. This is all the same. In fact, I believe this is the exact same payroll.java file as I peruse my way through it that we had in the previous program. There are no changes in it whatsoever. None. Yeah, like I said, I believe this is exactly identical to the one that we did back in Chapter 6. Looking through it quickly, and I don't see anything that looks different. A little bit too much white space here and there, but that's no biggie one way or the other. I didn't have a space there. We go. All right, so let's save that and let's bring up our driver. So let's look at what's different. In fact, when you look in here, the driver's only got 36 lines in it, so there's not much in the driver. Decimal format in J option pane. All right, we've changed this around a little bit. I'm just supposing we have 5 total employees. All right, and I'm going to give them each a number. and I'm going to give each of them an hours worked and each of them an hourly rate. To just keep this simple, it's going to say employee 1 worked $10 hours and makes $10 an hour. So 10, 10, 100. Employee 2, 20, 20, 400. Employee 3, 30, 30, 900. Employee 4, 40, 40, 1600. And employee 5, 50, 50, and they get some overtime. They get, what, 10 hours of overtime, so it's like 2750. All right, so let's run this, and after we run it, let's go back and take a look at everything that's in there. So there's payroll, there's employee 1. Again, so LCV, which would be 0 plus 1, would give us 1. LCV, 0 plus 1, 1 times 10 would give us 10. And 1 times 10 would give us 10. And 10 times 10 would give us 100. So employee 1 works 10 hours at $10 an hour and makes $100 gross. Employee 2, 20, 20, 400. Employee 3, 30, 30, 900. Employee 4, 40, 40, 1600. Employee 5, 50, 50, 2750. If we add all that up, there were 5 employees. Their total gross pay was $5,750. Pretty simple stuff. It really and truly is. So let's look at how we used arrays in here. We're going to have an array called emps. It's a new payroll array of size 5. Again, then we come in here. That was nice. We come in here and we tell it to go through this 5 times. This is setting up all of our values. This is going to set up our payroll number. This will set up the hours worked. This will set up the hourly rate. And then after we've got all that information in there, we print it out for each employee. And then this is what we print out at the bottom, which says there were a total of 5 employees. The total gross pay was $5,750 and program run. And notice I say payroll.count here. All right, remember why I said that. Because when you look in here, count was static and protected. Since it's a static variable, we don't need to have an instance of a class to use it. But every time we're creating a brand new employee in here, we're adding 1 to our count. All right, now that was very quick, but again, the idea was to go through that, and after we go through Chapter 8, which will be next, the next example that in Chapter 8 that goes through and looks at arrays, looks at them in much more depth and breadth of coverage. I want you to realize, if you take a look right here, I now have a program for Chapter 8 and one for Chapter 9, so we'll be going over those, and then I'm going to have to go back and write one for Chapter 10 and write one for Chapter 11. All right? And that pretty much should put the rest of the material that we had for Chapter 7. I've got to... saving my URLs here. So